Welcome to the 1 Yard foot. What the hell's the name of this? The 1 Yard Fantasy Football Podcast, folks.
That's your opener right there.
That's it. Is it still going right now?
No, I've it pulled up so I can.
Can I go to the bathroom real quick?
Yeah, just give me 1 second. All right, go ahead.
Hey, what do you think? Should we just start the podcast?
I started the music. Oh my God, Brett, what are you doing? I had it all ready. Oh boy.
You chose, I don't care. Gotta get ready to watch Kyle Pitts not
I need
score.
you to focus here. I need you to focus up.
Boy, I'm not ready for this, folks.
Let the games begin.
I don't know
All
about
right,
that.
well, should we get into it, guys?
Let's do it. Let's do it,
All
folks.
right, well, welcome to the, we're going to call this, the mid-season edition of the 1 Yard Fantasy Football Podcast. We're going to probably do, 2 more after this?
Yeah, well, it's mid-season for a lot of teams, but for Brett, his season ended a while ago. So,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, he got regulated this last week.
Yeah, it was rough. Brett, how do you lose? What was the final score of that game? Let me pull that up here.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if my score team. If
I
my team
gotcha.
scored over 50 points.
I don't. They did.
They did.
57.
Not over 60, but over 50.
And the thing that
57.
hurts is that Ryan's entire team was on bye. It's just one of those seasons, and
I had no expectations of winning that game heading into that weekend with being on my bipocalypse. I was going to get into this later, but I'm just going to say now. I'm withstanding victories right now.
withstanding victories. Okay, yeah. I see you.
And taking it week by week and trying to withstand victories and stay in it. My team has no business being in the playoff hunt right now.
No, you don't.
I've underperformed.
Yes, you have.
I've had injuries, bye weeks. It's ugly. I should not be 5-4, but I am.
No, you should not.
The future is bright. If Jonathan Taylor comes back healthy, and pairing him with Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, I'm still mad that you got Christian McCaffrey. I'm upset about that trade.
I'm upset about that trade just because the actual trade, because now my starting running back can't play anymore because they got traded to Miami. I'm just it is what it is.
He had a good week last week. Was that right?
I was going to say, on this episode, we're going to get into updated projections on the divisions. We did that in the first episode. We're going to kind of see where we're at and how things are looking. We got 2 more games of interdivisional play, and then we get into the final round of divisional games coming up. And then we're going to do a little bit of fantasy courtroom where we kind of determine who won trades since week 4. We got a little bit of AMA coming up here. You all submitted some questions. So we're going to go through those and answer those. And I think, we have also a mid-season award. So who's the fantasy manager of the year? Who's your fantasy rookie of the year? MVP of the year so far? Who's going to be the second half breakout star that everyone's going to be talking about? So we'll kind of get into that and give you our opinions on that. But how about we jump into projections? You guys want to give an updated look at the divisions and see where we all stand?
Oh, yeah. This one was way easier for me to do compared to the first one. Is there anybody that wants to go first?
All you, sir.
All right. You're not going to like this, buddy. All right. So if I recall, I had at the beginning of the season, I don't know why, but I boldly predicted Brett to win the division. Oh boy, was I wrong. All right. So I had Brett taken first, Special Jared second, Just the West coming in with a close third, with American Pony rounding out at the bottom, I believe, if my memory serves. So that's changed pretty drastically. So right now, first overall, what I have is Just the West winning the Bellore division. I had him as a close third, a close second almost, but Special Jared beat him out during the last episode. But a lot has changed. I remember when we were all talking about Special Jared's team and we said, man, Lamar Jackson's looking hot. He's having an MVP season, but if anything happens, if he gets hurt, he's got Trevor Lawrence. Well, he didn't get hurt, but he sucks. the rest of his team got hurt. And he's got nobody to throw to. Bateman's out for the season. It's a mess right now. So he's got Trevor Lawrence playing this week because it's the Ravens' bye week. And honestly, he might get more points with Trevor Lawrence at this point. So that dropped him down to second place. I mean, Just the West was Special Jared's first loss of the season. He's ramping up. He's got a solid team. One of the biggest highlights with Just the West is DJ Moore. With CMC gone, he seemed a lot more productive and a lot better, so that's going to help him out a lot. And Geno Smith, I did not think Geno Smith would be a top 10 QB last time we shot this. And Geno Smith is, let me pull it up real quick here. All right. I can't read. It's been a long day at work. Where the hell is this team? Here he is. All right, Geno Smith. Yeah. Top 10 QB. I just realized that MPFL doesn't do it like other leagues where it says the ranking right when you click on the player, but that's okay. He's a QB1 right now, and nobody thought he would be at this point. So that's
Rose is still
right
a rookie.
there.
He still uses like ESPN leagues.
Yeah, I'm a sophomore in the league, so
Sport. Hey, youngin, if you go up to
Ryan, why don't you pull up his QB ranking for me, and I'll just like spiel through the rest of this real quick.
All right, you go ahead and do that.
All right, I have Special Jared in second. I mean, he's still got a solid team. He's still got a lot of wins under his belt. Only 2 losses so far this season. But like I said, Just the West was his first loss, and he just lost again to Travis. Who Travis's team is just, I don't even know what to think of his team at this point, but that's another discussion. Third, I have American Pony. I feel so bad for American Pony. I went back and looked through all the games.
Wait. Third?
Yeah. Like I said, you're not going to like this.
Okay.
I have American Pony taking third.
Disrespect.
And when looking back, man, their record does not reflect how good their team is right now. They're starting to heat up, but I think it's too late for them to make a run for the playoffs. They'd have to win out, and a lot of good things would have to go in their favor for them to even make the playoffs. Because if they win out, they'd be 7-7, I believe. Because I believe they're 2-7 right now. That's unfortunate. But the last 2 weeks, they've put up over 100 points. One of their losses, they put up 104 points. They lost to Travis, which is unfortunate. And then they had 4 games where they lost by 6 points or less so far this season. A lot of close games, a lot of close losses. Their schedule doesn't reflect how good they are, but they're not going to make playoffs this year. Brett, all the other teams I had like a full paragraph written down. For Brett's team, it's really just his name. I don't think I really have to dive any deeper into why Brett's going to take last in this division. I mean,
Are you talking about Relax, your farm team?
yeah, my farm team. Yes, sir. I mean, he lost Ekeler in a trade with a better owner, and it's been downhill from there.
We'll talk about that in the.
Yeah, I mean,
We'll talk about that a little bit later.
from first to last. If it makes you feel better, I was an idiot for making you first to begin with. So
I'm not gonna lie, I was trying to find that sound clip and I went to the bathroom so I could play it of you just saying that Brett's gonna take first in this in this division.
yeah, not a great prediction.
All right, I'll jump in and do the Staley division next. So first time around, I had North winning it all. Whitaco coming in second, Jared third, and then Gary in fourth. Sticking with it pretty much, except for making one change. I'm going to have Whitaco leapfrogging Travis, and Whitaco is going to take the division. It's just, I'll get into it in a little bit here. But Kelsey, man, he's just been riding Kelsey. You have 2 elite quarterbacks in Josh Allen and Mahomes. He just needs to get Swift healthy, and next thing you know, he's going to be hitting on all cylinders and be a danger in the playoffs. So Whitaco is he 7-2 now? Yeah. So I don't see him really dropping many more, and even then, Whitaco gets lucky. He's won a lot of tiebreakers. So, I think he takes first. Travis drops a second. Took a blow with the Christian McCaffrey trade to San Francisco, where he had to drop Elijah Mitchell. So he's not going to be getting him back. But he's made some trades, and so we'll get into those here in a little bit to bolster his roster. But yeah, he traded for the Yeti. Things are going to go well down the stretch. When it snows in Vermont, the Yeti comes through. For those that haven't caught that reference, apparently there's been some statistical research that when it does snow and it lands in Vermont, he goes off. I learned that on the Fantasy Footballers. But I have Travis finishing 4-3 down the stretch. He's going to take the loss this weekend to the Regulators, and then finish 7-7 overall. But he'll win the tiebreaker over the third place team, the Titletown Cheeseheads. Jared started 2-5. I think he's going to catch fire here. He's going to finish 7-7. But Jared, he has a history of being some bad luck and losing on tiebreakers and such. So I have him third, losing out. I think only Travis and Whitaco make the playoffs from this division. And then with Gary, he's also 3-6. These two teams are just at the bottom. Too many teams to leapfrog at this point. They're not going to make the playoffs. It's time to start looking for next year.
Man, Gary, I feel for him. Trading away Travis Etienne right before Travis Etienne takes off for the season.
Who lost that?
Oh, man. I also feel for myself trading away Travis Etienne before he blew up for the season. So
it might have been the most traded player this season.
Yeah, but Etienne turned into me getting Ekeler, so it worked out. And Sanders. So...
All right, moving on from the Ekeler news. Let's talk about the Fisher division over here, folks. So I'm making a last second adjustment here. At first, I was going to say some nice things about Rosa, but F him.
This is what you did in episode 1 too.
We're gonna go with this. I'm gonna say that I made a mistake. I made a mistake last summer when I said that Fighting Unicorns was going to finish in the Sacco Bowl. They're not going to be finishing the Sacco Bowl just because they have such a great start to the season. They've actually scored the least amount of points. Or second to least amount of points, basically tied for least amount of points in that league or in that division. And somehow they have 6 wins. They're top of the division there in the Fisher. I think that they're going to keep that on there. And I think that they're going to finish with a championship in the Fisher division. Number 2, I'm going to give it to Rosa. I'm going to say this. Ekeler is a beast who can carry a team. Ekeler, solely coming from the Relax Dynasty, Relax Championship team. He says, no, Brett, I'm not done. He's about to go put up some more points. You combine that with the A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts stack. Man, say what you want about stacks. When they go off and you're facing against a stack, it's scary. When you see that opportunity, when in those previous years when we've seen Mahomes and Kelsey stacks, like you're just like, I don't want to go against that, man. Whitaco understood that far before the rest of us did, but Rosa's got that opportunity there with AJ and Jalen as well, even though he roster baits to the rest of them. Did you just send something in here, Rosa?
Yeah, I just wanted you to take a look really quick so everybody can see the bullshit you're spewing. That's what Rhett actually wrote down. Before he changed his mind again because he was upset with facts being presented. So I just wanted to.
All right, yeah, we'll move past that. Moving forward, man, Ryan. You're 5-4. You are withstanding some victories right now. I don't see it as enough.
Damn.
But I mean, man, you could prove us wrong. I could be wrong. Rose's team is trash and does not know how to actually finish. He's kind of
It's not that they don't know how to finish. It's not that they don't. It's not that
he is early satisfied and likes to go out early, but he doesn't know how to finish in the long haul. He's more of like a one and done.
It's
type
not that they
guy.
don't know how to finish. It's that I keep fucking up who to start, and every time I put somebody, swap them out on my bench, they score more than the person I put on my starting lineup.
And moving on to the last place in the division, Tom Brady cheater. I'm sorry. 2-7. And here's the thing about fantasy football, folks. Tom Brady cheater has scored 669 fantasy points, and they're in last place at 2-7.
69.
Adam Isley, the Fighting Unicorns, has scored 676. The individual in first place has only scored 7 more points than the person in last place. And that, my friends, is the shitty thing about fantasy football.
That is the definition of fantasy football.
That's it right there. I mean, that's a difference of 4 wins, first and last in the division, and you haven't even done that much better than somebody else. So
that's why I said I've been with standing victories. I was doing deep research on who to pick up when, and I went out and spent $15 on Isaiah Likely last week. I knew that Mark Andrews was going to probably miss the game. I didn't have a single wide receiver to start other than Allen Lazard, so I had to go 2 tight end set last week against Brett.
And you ended up losing, right? Because like everything you'd look at, like most teams, 99% of them, you'd lose against anybody, right? So you lost.
Well, according to the RT Sports projections, yeah,
I was like 85% projection to win. Rosa, on the low hanging fruit here, man. It's like, come on, you better get some better.
You've been calling me a farm
soon.
team for like 15 months, buddy. You had to know that this was coming.
RT Sports projections.
I don't.
Such a joke, man.
From one dramatic end to the other, and
last week for my game, all I had to play against was the Ravens defense. I had 5 points. I was 5 points ahead, and I went into the fourth quarter, and I was up by 2 points, and it had me at a 95% chance of winning, and there was 12 minutes left in the game. I was like, I don't think that this is going to end well for me. It refreshed 2 minutes later, 3% chance of me winning.
Yep.
That said all, Kyle Pitts has 1 point through 3 quarters. I'm at 60% chance to win, so suck it, Adam.
That's got to be like, that's what, like 25% of the points he scored like all year, pretty much?
Yeah, man, you're not wrong.
Just missing a pass right there.
I just did see that. It's on in the back. You can see it if you watch the YouTube video. You can see it on my TV right here. There's Pitts. And he didn't get it. He touched it.
What do we got for the second portion of today's
show? We're going to jump into mid-season awards. So we're going to start out with our fantasy MVP. Who's been that one player that has just come out of nowhere or dominated? Who's been your MVP of fantasy so far?
I'll let somebody else take off here since I went first last time.
I'll start it off here. Let me go with this. My mid-season fantasy MVP goes to Nick Chubb. I think that we all knew that Nick Chubb was going to be, I mean, he's an elite running back. He's got the talent. He's got the skill set that you need to succeed in the league. But I don't think that many people thought that Nick Chubb was going to be competing for RB1 on the season through, midway through the fantasy season. The amount of points that he's put up in combination, he has done so well for those owners to get them to a good start where Special Jared could win half the games remaining in the season, and Nick Chubb was such an integral piece that he will still make it into playoffs. We all knew he was going to be great, but I think that he has gone to another level that has really at least gotten folks into the fantasy playoffs. And, Special Jared is going to hope to keep riding him, turn his franchise around, and turn his franchise into a champion here in 2022. But mid-season award goes to Nick Chubb.
It's hard to argue that. I mean, looking at past MPFL champions, it seems like most teams have had that running back that they just ride to a championship. I had Todd Gurley. If you have that stud that can just go ahead and put up 30 points on the regular, that's a big hole to come back against, any other team playing you. So, yeah, Nick Chubb, he's definitely doing some work. All right, Rosa, who you got?
So I misinterpreted the question when I first filled this out, but don't worry because I got the guy. I brought him up earlier today.
Chris Olave.
No, not Chris Olave. I thought about putting Chris Olave. Chris Olave is a solid choice, though, I will say. He was very close second. I mean, he's done a lot of good work for a team that's not done a lot of good work. So, but my mid-season award is somebody that I don't think anybody saw being this good this season consistently was Geno Smith.
QB 11.
Yeah, Geno Smith, QB 11. I mean, nobody expected that because he's in how many years he's been in the league? Like 10, 12? He's been around for a while, and he's always been a backup. And when he comes into the game, he's, it's temporary. In the past, he didn't win a lot of games, didn't have a lot of great stats. And this year, like, he's the whole Seahawks team. Everybody put them up as, one of the top 5 worst teams in the league this year. And they're way better than expectations for anybody. Their defense is somehow showing up, but a big part of this is like if you have a great defense, your offense better be putting up points, right? That's why the Lions can't win games, except against the Packers. But Geno Smith, he's just meshing so well with the Seahawks right now. And, I mean, just the West, if he had any other backup QB or QB low end, like, he wouldn't be where he is right now. And Geno Smith is coming clutch and is a big reason why he's sitting at 6-2 right now. Or 7-2. Either or. Doesn't matter.
6-2.
6-2.
Hey, there was a Falcon that caught a touchdown not named Kyle Pitts.
Listen, man. I just need to score a touchdown.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, Rosa. I think for me, it would be hard to say the QB 11 is the fantasy MVP.
I think it's a pretty bad take. I think it's a pretty bad take right here. Well, I can see the sophomore in you.
Yeah, where do you see just the West?
I would say
in terms of if he didn't have Geno Smith and he had whoever his other quarterback is on his team playing.
I mean,
do you think
really
he's still second? He's 6-3 right now, by the way, not 6-2.
But I would say maybe this might be a category we have at the end of the year is like waiver wire pickup of the year. I think Elijah Mitchell was probably that last year. But I think Geno could be the waiver wire pickup this year. I just don't know if I would say fantasy MVP.
Well, I will say, like I said before, I misinterpreted the question.
For me, my fantasy MVP, someone I've always wanted to have on the regulated roster, but I can just never get him away from Whittaker's team.
Oh, yeah.
Every time he's in the draft, every time Whittaker will outbid me. That's Travis Kelce. Just when people are writing him off, he's just having the best tight end season since 2014. Most points since then. He's such a huge advantage. I mean, I'm happy. I took Gerald Everett as my tight end at the end of the draft, and he's worked out as my tight end 7. I've been happy with that performance, but to put it in perspective, Kelce has scored 106. Everett, as a tight end 7, has put up 43.
Jeez.
This guy has scored 63 more points than my tight end 7. So that is just such a huge advantage, and that heading into that week, you're essentially starting 4 wide receivers. You don't have a tight end. Yeah. Kelce is a legitimate wide receiver 1.
Yeah, and I'd like to change my answer to Austin Ekeler, by the way. I misinterpreted the freaking question twice. My lord.
So what did you misinterpret? MVP?
I was going... I'll explain it later. It's been a long day. I was at work for 12 hours. My brain stopped working.
We'll over here. Hang of this next one, okay?
Rookie of the year, Rosa. Start us off with...
They have to be in their first year.
I got this one. Don't worry about it.
First year in the league.
I got it. This is...
If you please say Kyle Pitts.
Oh, my God. Yeah, so Kyle Pitts, he's done great work. No, I'm going to go with the... this is based on overall fantasy rankings across like a few sites, but the RB5 on the season, Kenneth Walker. When he came in after that injury, he's a rookie. He was drafted in the 2nd or 3rd round, I think. And right off the bat, he just took off, and he's been consistent ever since. Since he started, I should rephrase what I said earlier. Since he took over as RB1 in Seattle, he's been the RB5 since that point. So, I mean, you can't ask for more. Especially for rookie running back. I mean, running backs, especially this season, are just so unpredictable. Look at Najee Harris. Last year, everybody had super high expectations coming into this year. Expectations were still top 10. And now it's like, do you put him on your bench? Like, he's, more of a spot start if you have better options. And I'd rather have Kenneth Walker than Najee Harris. I'd rather have him than half the guys right now. So he's a huge, huge rookie that's made a big impact that I don't think anybody saw coming, because Seattle having, Rashad Penny, who was starting to look good. You didn't think that Kenneth Walker was really going to have that opportunity, and then Rashad Penny went down, and Kenneth Walker, he just really blew up, and he's been consistent ever since.
Good pick. Much better than the Geno Smith pick.
Much better than Geno
sweating
Smith.
that time.
Much better.
I stand by it. Geno Smith.
All right, Brad, that is your rookie of the year.
Rookie of the year.
You going with a homer pick here?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Oh, which homer pick? Are you talking about the guy on my fantasy team or on my NFL team?
I guess you could go either way because you do have Dobbs and Olave. You're going
That's true. Olave is the move here. Personally, for me, I thought when I was trying to think of a rookie of the year, I had this conversation with Rosa before we started recording. I actually kind of struggled to pick a rookie of the year. I think that we've been so spoiled in the past 2 years with Justin Jefferson 2 years ago, and then last year with Jamar Chase of just immediate just NFL dominance, that it was a little bit tougher for me to pick who that obvious choice is right there. With that being said, I had to toot the only bright spot on my team, that is Chris Olave. I think now that you have Jarvis Landry and Michael Thomas slowly moving into their nursing home, they're leaving the NFL. They need to have a new NFL receiver coming in there, and I think that Chris Olave could be that guy for them. I'm treating him, and I'm kind of envisioning him a little bit more like I did Calvin Ridley a few years ago when I drafted him in the MPFL for $19 as well. So same price here. I think I like the immediate impact of Chris Olave a little bit more than I did with Calvin Ridley when Calvin Ridley was sharing the field with who am I talking about with him? Plays for the
Julio,
yeah. When he was playing second fiddle to Julio, Olave's really stepped in. Is that wide receiver number one on that team? I like his outlook. I think he's got a good price, making a good impact, and I think that's why he's going to be my wide receiver one, or my rookie of the year. That said, close second to Dameon Pierce. If I would have drafted Dameon Pierce, I would have picked Dameon Pierce.
Oh, that was a good one. Yeah. That's a good one.
So I think this isn't quite like the Geno Smith pick here, but I still think this is in that neighborhood, maybe a little bit of a dark horse here for rookie of the year. I'm gonna go Breece Hall. I know he's out for the rest of the year, so he only had half a year. But man, American Pony, the season didn't work out the way it wanted, but he's got a stud moving forward. Breece Hall, pre-injury, was looking like a top 5 back every single week. He can catch it. He can run it. The Jets are improving. They have a good defense. They're identifying as a run team.
They got a MILF hunter.
The interesting thing about Breece is his trade value is now higher post-injury than it was at the draft. Right now they got Breece Hall at $32 open at the draft. If you put Breece Hall out there right now for us to bid on in a draft for next year, guarantee you he's going for more than $32, even with an ACL injury. He'll be fine, early on season injury, so he should be back by the start of the season. I think he's going to be a stud moving forward, and he's crazy good.
That's the thing. It's an ACL injury. Yeah, it's not his Achilles. At least it's not another one of those guys with an Achilles injury. ACL you can come back from.
Yeah,
but
it's not like that Javonte injury that there's like 10 different ligaments that he tore up.
It's just a scratch. What are you talking about? Javonte's going to outscore him. He's going to be the RB1 next season, so don't worry about it.
What do you think that contract's going to be, Ryan? How many years do you think American Pony's going to give to Breece Hall right now?
For Breece?
Season?
If it was me personally, I would do 2.
That's what I would do too. I don't like doing the 3-year contracts with a lot of those players.
Yeah,
I mean, 2 years and then an option if you want them.
Yeah,
I feel good about 2.
Yeah, two's I think is safe. You could go 3, but really, I think looking at how volatile the running backs are,
look at Javonte, man.
Taylor was overall number 1 last year, and then this year, injuries, the O-line play, the quarterback play.
Mm-hmm.
And that dude sucked. I need him to come back for me to keep withstanding victories here. But
who is that?
Yeah, I would do 2 years on Breece easily.
Who are you comparing him to that you need to come back? Sorry, didn't hear you.
Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, look at Najee Harris last year.
Austin Ekeler was sucking it up. All he needed was a change of scenery.
Yes, sir. and that change of scenery was my team.
I don't
So
know.
let's
He did pretty well
uh,
on my team before that. Just want to say, or
Yeah,
before
no.
he went to your team.
Yeah.
He saw your team and was like, "Yeah, let's go off."
Let's get into MPFL Owner of the Year for the midseason award. And Rosa, will have you start off and tell us why it's not you.
I actually, before this, when I was talking to Brett, I was like going back and forth, like for who I wanted to pick, and I just talking to him, and I'm like, can I just put myself, because it should be me, but I'm going with Travis. Travis's team has been so weird to me this year. His team is stacked, but it's the most boomer bust team in the entire league. He has the most points scored in the league, and he's 5-4. He's put up well over 100 points multiple times and just gone off. And then there's been weeks where he struggles to get even close to that. It's the most bizarre thing. I don't understand it. I mean, Mike Williams got hurt. Justin Jefferson has had some down games, but when his team is on, it's on. And Travis, his team is just stacked. Like Kyler Murray, Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, Mike Williams. It's just, even his bench, he's got a good bench to roll over to. And his team is still the scariest one to me. Like, if he could lose out the rest of the season and not make playoffs, that would be awesome. That'd be great for me. I would really like that. But he's done a really good job with his team this year, especially after the heartbreaking tiebreaker last season when I beat him out to make the playoffs. He seems to be coming back for a vengeance. But I beat him again this season, so it's fine. And I'll do it again in the playoffs, Travis.
So I'll go next. And this pains me to say this name. But the owner I'm going to say is the owner of the year so far is Adam Isley. I hate to praise a division rival, especially when we're talking the Donkeys here. But guys, I did my part. I pummeled the Donkeys into the point where he was willing to sell off his team and rebuild for next year and become a Sacco contender. And then what happened after he lost to the Regulators? He puts win after win after win after win, back to back,
Withstanding victories.
Yeah.
and he's sitting at 2 now. So somehow this guy has made the decision to, I'm going to sell off my team, sell off Christian McCaffrey, and rebuild for next year. So he's stocked up for next year, and he's still competing for this year. So he's done a great job of, putting himself in a position where he will make the playoffs. He'll make a run at the money, and then he'll be in a good spot next year. He didn't push all of his chips in like some other teams have done so far at the trade deadline.
What a turnaround for his team, too. We were ragging on him first episode because he just threw away all of his money in the draft and turned it around early mid-season. And somehow we, like you said, everybody thought he was throwing it away. And now he's top of our division. Like, what a turnaround for him. Like, he's definitely had the biggest comeback in terms of team management.
This dude needs to drop Deshaun Watson. That's a cancer on the team.
Yeah, I don't know what you're doing, Travis.
Code in the NFL that we were going to let that dude rot on the waiver wire.
Yeah.
Travis did the right thing, cut him after he drafted him.
Yep.
Isley, we're calling on you. You got to cut him.
Yeah.
You don't need him. You got Herbert.
Yep. I meant to say Adam, not Travis. But I agree. Yeah, what are you doing, Adam? Come on.
Who was the one that picked up Zeke, like back in, I want to say 2016, Ryan? I remember there's a whole poll in the MPFL about like if someone should like pick up Zeke, because I forget what was going on then.
Controversy with them at the time.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was.
I don't remember either. But man, he's had a hell of a turnaround, and it started immediately after he traded away his whole team against me. Ben and Benjamin just going off.
I have no sympathy for you, Rosa.
Yeah, you should.
You're right. All right, so moving down over here, owner of the year on my side. Let me talk to you, folks. I'll be honest with you. I've learned a lot in this past 10 months about success and failure in fantasy football here. Through the 2 leagues that I'm in, out of 15 games that we've played, I think I have a combined 4 wins. It's been a rough season. You combine that with the amount of wins the Packers have, I'm at like 6 wins. It's a rough year. So when I think about owner of the year, I want to go to one of the owners that has sustained success. I've learned this year how hard it is when you're at the top to stay at the top, just because of how fickle fantasy football can be. In Whittico, I got to give it to you, man. You've made 3 times more money in this league than anybody else. Sustained success. You beat me in the playoffs 2 years ago. We faced off in the championship last year. Here you are leading your division this year. I applaud it. It's not easy to do. Whittico, team of the year.
Speaking of overall team success, it annoys the piss out of me that Adam has that one extra win over me on the all-time win list. Every week I go to update that thing, and every week he's 1 win away. We just keeping pace with that 1 win.
I'm creeping up on Brett. Brett's overall league wins.
Yes.
But you're like 7 people below me.
Yeah, but I'm creeping. It's less than 10 games. It's not going to happen this season, but next season I could overtake it.
All right, our last mid-season award, we're going to go with second half sleeper. Who do you think is about ready to have a huge second half of the season, guys?
So it's kind of already starting to show, and it's a player I actually have on my own team, who I almost cut and dropped him to waivers after week 4, I believe, week 4, week 5, and that's Justin Fields. And oh my God, am I glad I kept Justin Fields on my bench. In the last 3 weeks, he put up 22, 25, and he just put up 40 points against Miami. And you might think those are all easy games. Miami's not a great defense, but he put up 22 points against New England and 25 against Dallas. Dallas is one of the best defenses in the league. I don't know what changed with the Bears. I hate that the Bears are good right now. I don't know what they're doing, but he just broke the all-time record for most rushing yards by a quarterback in a single game. Lamar Jackson didn't break that. Patrick Mahomes didn't break that. And then Justin Fields, who was sucking up the first half of the season, he just broke it last week. He's currently the QB7 on the season. And that's after getting 13, 9, 5, and 9 points the first 4 weeks.
But he's not your fantasy MVP.
He's not my fantasy MVP because he's on my bench.
Geno Smith.
4 spots below him.
And he's also the reason I lost last week because, as anybody would do, I put Jalen Hurts in over Justin Fields. And then Justin Fields put up 40 points. But yeah, I think he's looking great. And he's playing Detroit and then Atlanta.
Are you starting him this weekend against Detroit?
I'll tell you what. I've been going back and forth on that a lot. But a main factor of why I have is also because I can't justify taking out Sanders. And I don't like having 3 Eagles players in my starting lineup. It's not
Ryan
a good
really got
look.
in your head, man. Wow.
But it's not a good idea. Because if the Eagles shit the bed 1 week, that's 3 players off the board.
They're undefeated though, man.
Yeah,
Ryan definitely got in your head.
Every team has a bed. There's 17 games in the season, right?
Living rent free in Rose's head.
17 games in the season. You can't expect them to go out. I mean, Jalen Hurts, but he's had 3 games this season where he didn't put up 20 points. Yeah, he's scored 14 in week 4, 15 in week 6, and 19 in week 9. You're not going to go off every week. Like, he's got 23, 31, 25, 25, 26, but he's also had down weeks. And then when you have a down week for him, Sanders is up. When Sanders is down, Hurts is up. It's very wishy-washy.
I'll go next with it. Second half sleeper, Geno Smith. No, just kidding. Awful decision. Second half sleeper, Kenneth Walker. I thought this was pretty easy for me. I tried trading for this guy a few weeks ago, and Danny Lee essentially told me to go fuck myself. I needed to read the room. Danny Lee is not going to be getting rid of that running back that was right after. He took over as the starting guy. He didn't actually say that. Danny Lee's a very nice guy.
Imagine if he had him and ETN still on his team.
Kenneth Walker is going to be a stud for a while now, and at $21, man, sky's the limit. He made a really, really good pick there. I think he's going to come alive now that he has the reins of the team.
Yeah.
And I was going to go with Chris Olave. I know he was, you talked a little bit about him already, Brett, but I think bigger things are coming in the second half. I think they're going to make the change to Winston as the quarterback, and if there's one thing that Jameis loves to do is to throw that YOLO ball 30, 40 yards down the field. And Chris Olave leads all rookies in targets, reception, and yards, and he leads the NFL in 131 yards of air yards a game. So that means that they trust this guy. They're throwing it deep. You know, there's going to be weeks where they hit on those air yards, and he's going to have ridiculous stats. But the future's bright. You know, Michael Thomas is on IR. He's dust. Agree. Not the answer. So he is the guy. You know, it's going to be him and Kamara out of the backfield. But yeah, I think Olave is going to blow up. And think about it too. You mentioned the other rookie wide receiver's been spoiled. Jamar Chase, he had a slow start. He didn't blow up until the second half of the season. So I think we're looking at something very similar to Olave. I think he's going to blow up, and he's going to be definitely that wide receiver one, and probably one of those top, you know, receivers that people want in the drafts for next year.
Yeah.
He's trade bait, man. Listen, anyone trying to make a push, some of your offer, some of your young, some of your upcoming.
I got Javonte Williams for you.
I prefer people with both working legs. Let's go with it.
Oh my gosh. All right, let's keep him rolling.
Let's segue.
All right. So one of the questions that was submitted in the AMA asked us to basically grade some trades. So we've kind of taken a look at all the trades since week 4. There are a lot of trades have gone down. Yeah. We're looking at you, Danny Lee. This dude has a different roster every week. So, you know, I don't know if we have the time right now to kind of go through every single trade. But why don't we go ahead and you want to just maybe take a trade, someone throw a trade out, and we'll one that you wanted to talk about, and we'll kind of talk about it.
I think a good one is week 5, the week 5 trade that you put in the doc. I think that's a good one to start with. Ryan, I'd like your thoughts on that first.
All right, so we're the week 5 trade. We're going back to the trade between two of our co-hosts here. We have Relax that sent Austin Ekeler,
excellent,
and Williams to Rosa in exchange for James Conner and Michael Pittman. Oh boy, I gotta tell you, you know, when this went down, I thought it was all Brett. You know, he was putting together his all-star wide receiver core again that he rode to a championship. Brett was getting hosed with a bad contract and an underperforming running back. But as you can see, it sent one team to the cellar, one team to the thick of the playoff hunt. And yeah, Rosie, you're going to have to, you know, there's going to come a reckoning when you have to deal with that Javonte contract. But the way people have been trading left and right, I have no doubt that you'll be able to unload that contract in the offseason.
We'll take care of it. We'll package it up. Brett, do you have any thoughts on this trade?
It's all bad for Brett. I mean, I think that in the long run, they're going to end up with one of the stud quarterbacks in the draft this coming year, and Pity City will be a good wide receiver for the next couple of years. Just not this year.
Not this year, but maybe next year.
Yeah, I think looking at this trade, I've gotten some questions before, some folks about like trying to figure out what owners are thinking and how they value players. I think that when I made this trade, obviously Javonte was supposed to be a stud, right? I had him on a 3-year contract. I think his salary was like what, $23 or something like that for 3 years. That's gonna, you know, kind of put him up there. Don't think he's gonna be the same coming back halfway through next season. So I think Javonte, you know, unfortunately, I think that his time in the league, at least as an RB1, I don't think that's going to happen. I think maybe he'll be an RB2 consistently, but for that price, I don't think that's worth it. And I think that's really best case scenario coming back as RB2. And at that price, and you can always get lucky with a James Conner in the draft for like $9.
Like I did last year.
Yeah, which you did.
Yeah.
Which I did 2 years prior when I drafted him when he was first there. Like Pittman, he's got a cheap contract, going to be there on my team. He's definitely more of a long-term play, in my opinion. Within 4 weeks, I'm like, I don't think my team has the depth. You know, the same time Rosa thought that I was going to like crush my division. I internally, like, I don't really know if I see it this year. I don't have the depth that I did last year. I don't have the playmakers that I did last year. A.J. Dillon's been disappointing. Javonte Williams is hurt. At that point, Ekeler had scored, I think, like 9 points over the course of the first 3 games. So obviously looking back now, if I would have had Austin Ekeler and I traded him now, I could get so much more than Michael Pittman. But at the time, man, it was just like, all right, Eckler's done nothing. I think he scored like 4 touchdowns that game. That's not something good to count on. So that is why I'm like, all right, there's a time to sell high. And that's what we're doing. And looking back, it's like, should have held on to him. But I think even with Austin on my team, I don't know if my team would have competed enough this year with him. And I will say this here. When I'm playing in the MPFL, the goal is either the championship or bust. That is truly it. And if I don't think that my team has the capability to do that, sell the farm. I think if at this point I'm like, I can't really get into playoffs, so I'm doing the best I can to set myself up for the future, which leads me to this nugget of information, folks. We've had this conversation whether or not Sacco playoff games matter or if they do not matter. And I think I've switched. My decision because if I'm not making the MPFL playoffs, I'm going to sell my team in order to be the best that I can for upcoming seasons. And if that means that I'm going to have a worse team for the Sacco playoffs, that's fine. That is what it is. I'm not going to try and make my team better just so that way I don't fight for the Sacco. That is the revelation that I've had as kind of one of the bottom feeders in the league for this year, Ryan.
And you have that revelation once you win an MPFL championship. You've come around. You hear that, Jared? We're 1 victory over me that one time in the Sacco playoffs. It doesn't count. So you've beat me twice. That's it. You suck. Speaking of Jared sucking, let's talk about. I want to talk about his trade from week 4. That's kind of what kicked this all off. Fantasy courtroom. I'm gonna. This is why, in my opinion, we don't veto trades. I talked about it last podcast, but I kind of want to just talk a little bit more about it now. This is a perfect example of why. People looked at this trade and thought Jared fleeced Gary. It had 4 or 5 vetoes. It was like 1 veto away from being nixed. And that's because they thought Jared was just getting too much talent, loading up. But, here we are 6 weeks later. Let's take a look at that trade and what pieces went down. You had Titletown Cheeseheads receiving Tom Brady, Michael Thomas, and Alvin Kamara. And then you had No Fly Zone receiving Jerry Jeudy, Tua, and Jalen Tolbert. Both teams are currently 3-6. At the time, Jared was extending. No Fly Zone. That wasn't like we were going anywhere. No Fly Zone, to me, wins this trade because they have Tua, who is going to be their starting quarterback next year. Tolbert is trash. But Jerry Jeudy, he could still trade him before next week's over with to a contender, get another piece. Whereas Jared's left with what? Tom Brady, who's going to be going to the Fox booth next year. Thomas, who's currently on IR. And Kamara, who has a court date set in March. So he's bound to face some type of suspension for the start of next year. And he's not going to be a keepable contract at that point. I think looking at trades, we got to ask ourselves, why are we vetoing trades? Is it because we truly believe there's collusion that Gary wanted to better Jared? That did not happen. We have a great group of guys. Collusion's not happening in the league. What is happening is communication. They're talking to each other. They're trying to figure out trades. I think a good example of this is, Henry. Henry's probably the owner I'm least connected to in the league. I've only seen him twice at 2 MPFL drafts. But we've made 2 trades the last 2 seasons. And that's because I have his phone number. I text him. And I want every MPFL owner, save the phone numbers. Reach out. Have that communication. Don't veto. Don't veto because you think it's going to make your team worse. I want you to go out there and make trades to make your team better. Don't veto out of fear. Go make your team better and make trades. So save those numbers. Text each other. Work it out. Off my soapbox.
Bravo.
I will say that when you look at that trade, like back in during that week, we'll play devil's advocate a little bit. 5 vetoes is a lot, right? Like, has there ever been a trade that didn't go through in the league?
Yeah, there has. It was Adam Isley and was it Adam Isley and Jared back in 2019?
Yeah, I think it was one of your first years in the league, Brett.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, there were some questionable trades early on in the league, and I think Jared's had some bad fantasy karma from that. He I don't know if you know Rosa, but he traded Tony Romo when he broke his back and never played again, and got LaShawn McCoy in that trade.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, so
it was.
I think at the end of the day,
Le'Veon Bell.
We can put trust in the commissioners. If there is some kind of collusion or something seems fishy. I mean, Ryan especially. This is his whole life. He'll spend hours and hours every waking moment investigating, calling in all the forces to just figure out what the hell happened, to make sure everything stays fair. But I mean, five vetoes. I think there's a lot of people scared of that trade, and I'm sure a lot of it comes down to divisional rivals and things like that. Not saying for this trade, but just in general. Like if you see somebody that's going to be getting it, it's like you just want to say, "Fuck that! I don't want them to be better because they're in my division." So,
I mean, you're scared of Michael Thomas from 4 years ago. He's a completely different guy now. Injured. That injury's taking a toll on him.
Yeah. But I think everybody's values, like it comes down to value of players and everybody's different values.
I think you said it right, Ryan. It's vetoing out of fear, and instead of vetoing out of fear of going out and making trade yourself to make your team better, and that's a lot harder to do than instead of just clicking a veto button.
Isn't that what the whole what else would you veto for other than out of fear though?
Collusion. Truly collusion. That's what the veto is there for. If you think that it's an unfair advantage to folks working together.
Our trade deadline is coming up next Friday, and then I
gotta make some moves.
If you have the last place team trading half the roster of good players that they have to their bench, but that's the other thing too.
A factor of it though is a lot of like with five vetoes though. I think part of it does come down to people did think that maybe it was a lopsided trade. Maybe not collusion, but they didn't think it was a fair trade. I'm not saying that was the case. Maybe it was all fear, but everybody values players differently, so that could have been part of it, especially when you have 5 vetoes, because that's a lot of vetoes.
Where you have to judge, you have to have trust in your fellow MPFL owners that they know what they want for their team.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, like if we made that trade now, Pity City for Ekeler, might get some vetoes.
Yeah, I think that one would.
But in the end, I think Ekeler is on an option year, so his contract's over this year. But,
yep.
Brett, you're going to have Pity City for a couple more years, and
he's on his option. Yeah.
But also, I think just a quick synopsis for the Pittman one. I mean, he's going to have his games though, so I don't think it was a complete L with Pittman. It's just like with them switching quarterbacks and stuff. I mean, he's had his games and he'll have some games, but next year when they get a better quarterback and stuff, he'll be solid.
It's more so a depth piece for me next year.
Yeah.
Totally. Good contract price too. So,
do we want
any other trades you guys want to talk about, or do we want to save those for a later podcast?
Let's save them for a later
podcast. I'm sure there's going to be some
and
juicy ones next week.
Yeah, if we want to do either wrap it up or do one more item on here.
Well, let's do a couple questions. We'll
AMAs.
Take some AMAs for the next episode, but let's do a couple here.
All right.
Yeah.
Which ones are you guys thinking?
Any of these that you wanted to? Let me toss out this. I know the owner that submitted this question. This is for Brett. He's already talked about how over the last year he's experienced some hardship in fantasy football. What's changed in the last year? The question is, how has marriage impacted you? What advice do you give owners with significant others or children regarding maintaining an appropriate investment? Mainly, I'm concerned about Isley moving forward as he's looking for marriage next year.
That's why he's so good right now, is because he's scared for next year.
Well, Adam, let me tell you, I
Jenna's not in the room, is she?
No.
Tread lightly.
There is a difference between causation and correlation, and all I will say is that this year, after this happened, I am not doing as well in fantasy football. There's no correlation there. I think
That's a smart answer, by the way.
Man, it is because Jenna's in 2 different fantasy football leagues. I'm in 2 different fantasy football leagues. I listen to the footballers every single day.
How's she doing?
She listens to me, and that is why both of our teams combined are absolute ass. So I guess what I will say is that within marriage and fantasy football, if you're going to give advice, you better damn well be sure that you are right. Otherwise, you're both just sad, and then you both cheer for the Packers, and it sucks, and it is what it is. So do some research, join the Foot Clan, and make better decisions than I have. But it's also nice when both of your teams suck there at the same time. You can kind of be like, well, this sucks. Here we are. But at least we beat Rosa, and that's what Jenna says to me every single week when I lose.
Jenna says that to you? Oh my gosh.
It felt good as an MPFL owner coming out to the message board to the fellow owners in the league that I was part of the Foot Clan, that I listened to the fantasy footballers. For years, I kept that as like a dirty little secret. I didn't want anyone else to know about it. But, then you start to see, other owners picking up certain players. And okay, how do they know about them? They just talked about them on the show. And I first picked up on it with Brett. I knew that he was kind of cued into them. So I reached out to him. And then I knew it was time just to come clean. And I'm having a lot more conscience now.
It's funny because I saw that you liked him on Facebook, and I kept that information close to my chest for like a full season where I'm like, I know Ryan listens to this. And then I didn't say anything at all to you for like a year. I was just like, no, I'm just going to. But then we're like, hey, Jared, you need to listen to them, please. Like, please listen to them.
Yeah, because by the time I joined, being an avid fantasy footballer listener as well, it was fully disclosed. That was one of the first things you said. You're like, I'm also a fellow fantasy footballer. I was like, nice. I never joined the Foot Clan because I'm cheap, but I listen to it every day.
Awesome.
There you go.
All right, so let's do one more question. We'll save the rest for our next episode. Let's get out of here with a updated Sacco prediction. Does that sound good, guys?
Let's do it.
So I know before I've talked about Adam being back-to-back Sacco champs. Doesn't look like that's going to happen this year. So I'm going to pivot, and I'm going to go with, it makes me happy to say this, but I'm going to go with Titletown Cheeseheads. He's going to finally get a championship in the MPFL, just not the one he's always coveted. I see this coming down to the last game where he's going to lose by 1 yard, and we're going to rain down the Sacco on him, and I look forward to those Sacco punishments to come.
I just want to make a correction to earlier. I never even saw the trade where Travis gave it to Devontae. I thought he was selling his team. So, just a correction to that.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Okay. It's all right, sophomore.
My Lord. It's been a busy year. Brett, who do you got for the Sacco?
Oh, man. It's so tough just because I see all these teams change. And I mean, damn, I think after I lost to Ryan, that was the first time where I'm like, I might be fucking competing in the Sacco this year. I'm not gonna lie to you guys.
Had that effect on a lot of people this year.
Yeah, I mean, I've the past couple of years I've been like, oh man, to get a team like that. But I mean, I've just been very, very lucky. And then this year I'm just like, man, my team's awful. But we're just gonna relax. RELAX. We're gonna run the table. We're gonna be fine. I mean, everyone's so close here. I'm gonna go with American Pony, just because I beat them week 1, or maybe it was week 2. They're the only win I have over in my division. That's what we're doing. I'm going with American Pony, but who knows what my team's gonna look like next week after I trade off Joe Burrow and Terry McLaurin and maybe Stephon Diggs. We'll see.
All right, we'll talk. Might be calling Joe Burrow.
It sounds like...
Yeah, man. Make some moves, boys. Make some moves.
I would, but now I got Justin Fields just going off, so I think I'm set with that. But I'll keep it short and sweet. Brett, you really hit the nail on the head with who I was going to predict for the Sacco Championship, and that is you, my friend. I think Brett turned into... I think the roles were reversed. How the turned tables, as they would say, Michael Scott, calling me your farm team, and I think your farm team's going to be making the playoffs, and you're going to be winning the Sacco Championship. So you'll be a 2-time champ, which is not the 2-time champ you want to be.
This is where he's an amateur. My team's already won the Sacco. If you would just check the scoreboard, Rosa.
Since you've been an owner?
My team all time.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about your team all time.
Back when it was the
talking about you.
What the hell is the name?
Previous
owner. There we go.
The franchise has won a Sacco.
The franchise has won a Sacco.
But you are not the
franchise.
You are your own. You are your own person, and I acknowledge you as your own person, and I also acknowledge you as your own person will win your first Sacco championship.
Let's see it.
Well, I think we'll be back with our next one just before playoffs start. We'll talk about playoff matchups, predictions, and get more into some fantasy courtroom graded trades and do some more questions from the mailbag.
Yep, and don't forget the link for the questions will be on the episode on YouTube, and I put the link in the main bio for the Spotify podcast as well. So
let's do it.
Before we leave, an update on Pitts. You still have 1 point?
Yeah, let's see it. Yep, 1 point. Oh, I forgot to mention this. I may suck at fantasy football, but let me tell you what I don't suck at. Fantasy Survivor. If you want to watch some Jeff Probst on Wednesday nights, let me tell you, I'm leading my Fantasy Survivor group. So that's where I've taken my talents to, the islands of Fiji.
That reminds me of when me and you lost in the friend league in the playoffs, and we started a fantasy bachelor league. Ooh, sad times.
Welcome to the 1 Yard foot. What the hell's the name of this? The 1 Yard Fantasy Football Podcast, folks. Signing off.
That's your opener right there.
That's
Rosa.
Beautiful. All right. We'll see you next episode, everybody.
Pleasure, guys. Take care.
Yeah.
Later.